What's going on in real estate in Las Vegas this winter? Well, let's find out. I've got some exciting news to share with you. Okay, so I am Justin Miller, co-founder and principal at the Chong Miller Group. And at the Chong Miller Group, we help people buy and sell homes, including condos and townhomes. We help people build wealth through real estate. This is the March 2024 real estate market update for condos and townhomes here in the Las Vegas Valley. I pull this data for consistency of comparison on the 7th of each month. And so I pulled this data on the 7th of March of 2024. It looks backwards in time, of course, to all of the data that was collected during the month of February 2024 with annual and monthly comparisons. So monthly to January 2024 and annually back to February of 2023. So having said that, without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the numbers. We'll look at condos first. Median sale price on condos at the end of February 2024, we were at $248,500. Now that was up. It was up a very substantial 6.2% from the $234,000 median sold price that we saw on condos in January 2024. This was also up a very strong 14.3% over the past year, so February 2023 through February of 2024. Now that 14.3%, that is more than double what we expect to see in a normal, healthy market here in the Las Vegas Valley, where across the country we might see normal housing price appreciation trend at just about 4%. Here in the Las Vegas Valley tends to be a little stronger in the 5 to 7% range. Well, we're more than double that. We're at 14.3%. And for comparison purposes, single-family homes here in Las Vegas Valley, resale homes, were up 9.2% over the prior 12 months. Here, resale condos up 14.3%. Incredibly strong number. Now, that's the price at which the market cleared, right? Buyers and sellers came together, negotiated, and got sold contracts at that price. Well, let's look at the more internal dynamics of the market. What happened not at that equilibrium point, but rather the demand measures and then the supply measures for the market. Demand measures for condos, quite strong relative to what we've been seeing recently. Closed contracts on resale condos, 291 in February of 2024. That is up 15.9% from the 251 that we had seen closed in January. Now, we do normally expect to see a seasonal pattern here where demand is going up in the first half of the year. We expect seasonal patterns to be pulling demand higher, as well as supply, which we'll get to in a couple minutes. But so we actually see that demand measure going higher. Closed sales up 15.9%. We're up 14.6% from the 254 condos that closed in February of 2023. Well, remember, there's another way we can look at demand, and that is not just a concluded sale, but rather a negotiated sale that has gone into contract or into escrow, so-called pending sales. Well, pending sales, 346, that number is up 5.2% from what we saw in January, 329. That number is up 20.1% from the 288 that we saw in February of 2023. So those numbers also up. We've got apparent demand materializing in the market is actual demand, both in terms of closing and in terms of written contracts that have not yet closed. I do also want to point out that 346 pending is considerably higher than the 291 that actually closed. That suggests, looking forward in time, we actually should see closed sales going up in the month of March as well. So demand is looking pretty good. These numbers are not incredibly strong, but they are increasing at least seasonally appropriately from where we had been before. Okay, so that's demand. Demand looking good. Prices looking pretty amazing, actually. What about supply? The supply side of the market, the inventory side of the market, we had 858 for sale condos at the end of February 2024. That number is down. It's down just slightly, 0.1% from 865 at the end of January. The important point is seasonally, we would expect to see inventory increasing at least in line with the demand numbers, maybe more strongly. And we're not. We're actually seeing inventory sit here basically flat. We are down 8.8% from the 941 that we had in inventory at the end of February of 2023. So keep an eye on this number. Inventory very constrained, and it's not getting stronger. What about newly listed, right? These are sellers who've decided they want to list their condo into the market to be able to sell it. And so newly listed resale condos coming into the market in February of 2024, 479. This number is down 2.2% from 490. Again, very weak. Now it is up 14.2% from where we were last year in February, 357. But we were seeing historically low numbers for newly listed last year, which was creating massive inventory drawdowns throughout the entirety of last year. So we're not seeing a huge drop off in newly listed, but we're seeing no gain. In fact, we're seeing when we should see seasonal increases, significant increases in newly listed, we're actually seeing small declines. And so this is just going to drive further weakness in inventory. If we've got demand, which we clearly do, and we've got very weak inventory supply, which we also very much do, that's going to drive pricing appreciation. And we're seeing that. Even though interest rates throughout the entire month of February, the Mortgage Bankers Association average interest rate daily for every day of the month of February remained above 7%. So high interest rates, and we're still seeing significant growth in pricing in the condo market. In fact, we are only $2,500 below the peak price that we had seen in May of 2022. So the condo market pricing has almost 100% recovered from the drop that we saw in the second half of 2022. We're only $2,500 below that. But one other statistic for condos, and that is back on market. Like all segments, back on market remains a massive problem in this market. We saw 127 or 30.4% of all condo contracts written. They had gone into escrow, collapse, fail, die, went back onto the market. That's a huge number, and make sure that you're paying attention to that number. Make sure you're talking to people about that number, why that number is as it is, and what agents can do about it. Whether those agents are your friends or your neighbors or your coworkers, your family members, if they don't have good answers for you on that, they are going to likely put you into a situation where you're going to be one of those statistics. Please make sure you're reaching out and talking to us. We're very good about dealing with this. We understand exactly what's going on. We try to create the prophylactic solutions so that we get through these without having failed contracts. Can't guarantee 100%, but we've been very good about keeping people in contract and getting it through a contract and getting closed transactions, whether you're the buyer or the seller. So, okay, again, I'm Justin Miller. Please smash the like button, hit the notification bell, subscribe if you've not already, share these videos with your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues, your family members, anyone you think might benefit by having accurate, fully analyzed information about what's taking place in the market so they can make better decisions for themselves and in association with their agent if they want to be a buyer or a seller or an investor, or they just want to understand where they exist in the marketplace. Now let's turn our attention to townhomes. Now, interestingly, most of the people out there who, including the Realtors Association, who put out statistics, have started separating out multifamily from single family, but they're resistant to and have not been separating condos and townhomes from each other, the two major segments of the multifamily housing space. I've been consistently separating both of these segments from each other for a couple of years because they are clearly distinctive categories of housing product. The median prices are different, the internals of market dynamics are different, and we've got a really great example of why the data need to be segregated here this month, because the townhome market responded in February of 2024 differently than single family homes and condos. And you can see the difference here, where condo prices at the median were up by 6.2%. Townhome prices were down 1.7% from 315,500 in January to 310,000 in February of 2024. That's a pretty significant drop. It's the only segment where we saw pricing dropping or decreased appreciation in the housing market here in the Las Vegas Valley. Now we are up $10,000 from $300,000 1 year ago, so we are up 3.3%. Now this is interesting because condo prices year on year were up 14.3%. Single family housing was up 9.2%. We were only up 3.3% on townhome pricing. Now, I do not believe this is the start of a long-term trend. The townhome market itself is quite small, and so minor statistical variations can look large. Changes in actual closing dates on transactions can throw the numbers off significantly. But again, these are reasons to actually segregate townhomes from condos. In the townhome space, we saw weakness. We actually saw weakness kind of across the board in townhomes in the month of February. So prices down. What about the demand numbers? What about the supply numbers? So sales, closed sales, that's a measure of demand, 161, that's down 2.4% from 165 in January. Now, it's to show you how small the numbers are, that's a decrease of only 4 transactions, but that is still down 2.4%, right? So if we move transactions across months, just 1 or 2 days difference in closing, we might see some significant differences in how these statistics look. That's a problem of analyzing a small market segment, but it's distinctive. We really have to analyze it separately. Now, we are down 3.6% from the 167 or 6 townhomes from what we saw closed in February of 2023. I do want to point out that this past month, we were at a number where we've only seen 7 months of slower or lower transactions since February of 2009. So these numbers are definitely weak, right? Both weak in terms of they didn't grow, they came down, and they should be growing in the seasonally appropriate measures of sales across time, across the first half of the year, but they're also weak relative to what we have seen historically. Now, what about pending contracts? Pending contracts, of course, another measure of demand. Buyer and seller decided, hey, this is a good contract, let's go ahead and write it up. We're just waiting to get through the escrow process to close. Well, that number, 206, now that is up substantially from the 161 actually closed, so that's good news. But 206 That's up 10.2% from the 187 that we saw go into contract in January. So that's also good news. That's a seasonally appropriate increase in the pending numbers. We are up 8.4%, just for informational purposes, from the 190 that went into contract, went pending in February 23. So that's good news with regard to demand. Demand's not cratering, it's not falling off the cliff. We've got the pending contracts coming up and they're above the actual closed numbers, suggesting good news for March. But this is still relatively weak compared to all of the other categories of housing here in the Las Vegas Valley. Okay, that's the demand side. What about the supply side? What's going on here? Well, there's a theme. There's kind of the interaction of two themes here. One is across all segments, supply has continued to come down. The other theme is the townhome market was weaker in February than all of the other market segments. And we've got the combination of them here. 390 resale townhomes in inventory at the end of February 2024, waiting to be sold. That number is down 13.9% from the 453 townhomes waiting to be sold at the end of January 24. That's a really significant drop off. So we've got very low inventory, and that's a double-digit decrease in the size of the inventory at a time where seasonally we're expecting inventory numbers to be growing. We actually came down 13.9%. We are down 40.5% from the 656 townhomes that were sitting in inventory at the end of February last year. That number, 390, is lower than any of the low numbers that we saw for inventory throughout the entire year of 2021 when we were incredibly inventory constrained. Now, of course, we've seen time since then. The first half of 2022, inventory numbers came down much further. We're leading to actually townhome price appreciation pretty significantly in the first half of 2022. So we are in line with those numbers that we saw from early 2022. If we exclude that, we've got to go back more than a decade to get to the kinds of numbers that we're seeing now for inventory. Very low, very weak. So what about newly listed, right? New sellers thinking, I'm going to list my property, I'm going to put it into inventory so that it can sell. Theme continues. 233 newly listed resale townhomes came into the market in February of 2024. That is down 10.4% from the 260 that came into the market in January of 2024. Normally, January is the weakest number for closed transactions and the second weakest after December, the second weakest for newly listed product coming into the market. Here we were down 13.9% on inventory and down another 10.4% on newly listed. This is not normal seasonal pattern here. This is suggesting there's some very real seller lock-in on inventory. And these inventory numbers, especially since we're seeing demand weak but increasing a little bit, is going to drive pricing appreciation as we go throughout this year. There's just no question about it. We're down 8.3% from the 254 newly listed townhomes that we saw last year. This is comparable to the newly listed levels that we were seeing in 2012. So 12 years ago. And at that time, we're just coming out of the great financial crisis. These numbers are just incredibly low, and they're getting worse. And that's going to be creating real constraints on the number of transactions that we're going to be seeing in the townhome space, because there's just not enough product out there to be able to meet the demands of buyers who are out there. Okay, one more statistic for townhomes. 81 back on market. Now, this is kind of interesting. This is 33.4% of contracts. Terribly bad numbers, terribly bad information. This is kind of at the high end of back on market or failed contracts that we've been seeing over the past 4 years. We sort of topped out at 33.3%. We're at 33.4% of failed contracts on townhomes in February of 2024. So I don't think this is a breakout, but we're bouncing around in multifamily space between about 27 and 33% failed contracts. We're seeing these across the board. Again, very important that you're paying attention to this information. Talk to me about it. Talk to whomever you're speaking with about real estate, about these back on market. They are critically important to understand and to try to work around to make sure that your transactions survive. Okay, so that's it. That's the multifamily update for both condos and townhomes resales here in the Las Vegas Valley for February of 2024. I am Justin Miller with the Chong Miller Group. At the Chong Miller Group, we help people buy and sell homes, including condos and townhomes. We help people build wealth through real estate, and you build wealth through real estate by being better informed than most of the other people out there. If you're watching these videos, you are better informed. Please share these videos with others who you think should be better informed so they can participate better in this market. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much.